Welcome to another tying session. I'd like to show you a little damselfly tonight that I very often fish for trout. But last season I decided to experiment a little with bigger flies for yellowfish in different types of water in the Vaal River, but in fishing glides and deeper holes, slower flowing runs rather than the foamy rapids. And I must say this little Stillwater Damsel worked very well. And I'm tying it on a grip 13812 size 12. I tied in size 8s and 10s as well. But I found that and I've caught some of my biggest smallmouth yellowfish on largemouth, while fishing for largemouth yellowfish, and that's why I decided to start to experiment a little bit with different size flies instead of the standard little caddis and mayfly imitations. I had quite good success with this. With the bigger flies, especially the Stillwater Damsel. I tied with a ostrich hole tail, small bunch, not too big and not too long either. And I tied 2 strands of UV crystal flash. This is a peacock color UV crystal flash on the sides, the grip crystal flash on the sides, just to add a little bit of attraction to the fly. And I don't want too much flash, especially when fishing it in very clear water. Now I fish it for trout as well, but I also found that it worked very well in a place like Sterkfontein. Now I like to fish Sterkfontein with dry flies and emergers, but I guide during the Complete Fly Fisherman magazine's fly fishing event on Sterkfontein every year, and then most of the guys who attend have only the one weekend where they can catch a fish in for on Sterkfontein, and so you need to get the guys to catch a fish, and the Stillwater Damsel actually proved very well. Now I'm tying, as a scutback, I'm tying a 2.5mm olive grip back strap, which is like an elastic back strap, and then and I tie it in 2 different versions. I tie the one that I'm tying now, where you see I've already put some lead wire on the hook, and I tie it with, and then when I tie it with lead wire, I tie the I tie it with monofilament eyes, and I also tie it from time to time if I want it a little bit heavier, sink a bit quicker, with 2.5mm bead chain eyes, which adds a little bit of speed when it has to go down, especially for Sterkfontein when the weather change. And I found that in difficult conditions, like in windy and overcast conditions, the Stillwater Damsel seems to be working very well when the fish are sitting much deeper. One can get down very easy and quick to those fish and get the fly in their faces. Now the abdomen is a very thin abdomen on a damsel fly, and I'm tying it with a grip trilobal dubbing in olive. I also sometimes tie it in a lighter color, like the golden olive, which is very nice when you're not only fishing it on wheat banks, but this is the normal dark olive, and just a thin layer, even layer of dubbing to form that abdomen and to build that abdomen up. And once that's done, you just pull that back strap over and tie that down in front right there, just with 1 or 2 wraps of thread to keep it in place, and then you wrap the monofilament. Now the monofilament is a 3 or 4x tippet material that I use, which works perfect for the rib to create a very nice segmented abdomen. Just don't want to trap the dubbing, and make the wraps about a millimeter apart from each other to form a nice even, or create a nice even rib effect. And you tie that off, same place where you tied the back strap off, and then you can cut all that material. Cut the monofilament and the back strap. And then you go forward where you're going to tie the eyes. Now you can tie the eyes in the beginning, you can tie the eyes now, you can tie it after you tied your first hackle. I like to tie it either right in the beginning or at this point here, because you're going to start to work in the wing case thorax area. So I tie monofilament eyes, and monofilament eyes I use about a 60 or 80 pound monofilament, and burn the ends. Then I use a black grip UV resin to just create a little bit of a dark edge on the ends of the monofilament. And once I've done that and cured that, I dip it in the ends in clear UV resin. I'm just going to put a little bit of resin over here just to make sure that it's a little bit much, but just to make sure that thread binds properly and holds those eyes nicely. And that will, when you dip the ends in the clear UV resin, it creates a very nice finish on the eyes. Like a damsel and dragon, they have quite big eyes, and get a very nice finish on that, and you'll see that once we've put some dubbing over there. Now for the legs and the wing case, I use a soft hackle, and the soft hackle at the back, the soft hackles that I use are not normal partridge soft hackles. I use, actually, strangely enough, I use a ringneck pheasant, and that I find on the legs or the drumsticks of the ringneck pheasant. I was lucky enough to bring a couple of bags of the stuff back from the UK on a trip where I did some demonstrations at the British Fly Fair, and this is actually quite nice soft hackles to use to create legs and wing cases. It's absolutely perfect for that. Now the one you tie in at the back, pointing backwards, you pull that through, strip the stem, tie the stem in, and then pull it through slowly so you can trap all those fibers there. The second one, you're going to strip the one end, or the one side rather, and use that for legs. So you can grab a hackle like that and pull all the fluff off the back, then strip the fibers on the one side and tie the tip of that hackle in right there behind the eyes. Now that will be used to create the legs on this fly, and all we need to do now, we're going to go back, we're going to create the thorax again with a trilobal dabbing. And I'm just using a normal roll-on dabbing technique. Very simple technique. I'll post some links to dabbing techniques as well that you can follow and go and have a look at. And if you're not familiar with dabbing techniques, it's definitely dabbing techniques are definitely techniques that you need to familiarize yourself with, because they are they're used in most invertebrate kind of flies, some saltwater flies, all those sort of things. But definitely you cannot have enough dabbing. And then you finish in the front, just behind the eyes, and take your thread forward. Now you're going to grab that hackle there in the hackle pliers and wrap that around the hook 2 or 3 times right behind the eyes and tie that off right there. And once you've done that, you're going to go back to behind the eyes with a thread, just to trap those legs that you tied in. Push them down a little bit. Now you're going to pull that hackle that you tied in first over to form the wing case. You're going to trap that there. Don't cut it off yet, just with 2 wraps of thread. Then you're going to dab your thread again. A little bit of dabbing, and make a few wraps over that hackle where you tied it in, and then pull the hackle back, and again same sort of area behind the eyes and over the hackle, inside of the hackle. Then you're going to go with a figure of 8 to cover the eyes and create the head of this fly. You're going to use very little dabbing at a time, very thin layers of dabbing on the thread. Make sure you cover those hackles or those eyes nicely to build up a nice diamond shaped head. That's what you want there. And nice small diamond shaped head. And once you've done that, you end in the front. You pull that hackle over and you tie that off right in the front. Now that is the Stillwater Damsel. You can whip finish your fly here. You don't need to varnish it if you do a good quality whip finish. I hardly ever varnish the heads on flies. Just finish that off nicely right there, and that is the Stillwater Damsel. It is a very, very easy fly to tie, very simple. You don't need a huge variety of materials. You cut that, and that's it. And tie them, fish them, tie them with bead chain eyes, fish them, and see what results you can get. Please follow the channel, please like the video, and keep an eye out for more techniques and fly tying videos. Thanks for watching.